Ikonini. Kaa kuna story fulani ile nilicheki on Wednesday ile nilifind ikiwa interesting ni kuna hizi posts zile Amerix na Kibe walibaki wameshare and ilikuwa basically wameandikiwa na CNN. So CNN walikuwa wameandikia Kibe, "Dear Mr. Kibe, we are publishing a story at CNN exploring the growth of the manosphere and masculinity focused online content in Kenya and its impact on women. Our analysis has revealed a significant growth of manosphere content posted across websites, blogs, social media accounts focused on masculinity and opposing feminism. Its amplification across social platforms. We also see that figures, including yourselves, have amassed substantial followings online with your masculinity content, often leading the manosphere movement in Kenya. Community experts have told us that the rise of such content has coincided with increased reports of gender-based violence, raising concerns about the offline consequences of manosphere ideas. Please let us know if you have any comment on the above. The deadline for a response is Friday, 18th October at 12 p.m. East African time. Okay. 12 p.m. East African time. Okay. What do I think about this? First of all, community experts have told us that the rise of such content. I don't think like gender-based violence can be added by such a thing. What I feel is I don't feel like in Africa we address gender-based violence. Like men don't address it. It's one of those taboo subjects, and the reason why it's a taboo subject, there are very many men who've grown up around their dads beating their mothers. So with that in mind, kuna wase wana assuming that that's the way that life is supposed to be, because in Africa usiwahi sahau kuna kuwaga na hii notion that respect your parents, respect your father, ask your father about advice, ask your father, and it depends with a lot of stuff. If I was born in the 18th century, I'd have asked my father about advice. In the 21st century, as an educated man, I know more about this world than my father. Okay, saizi budangu asha dedi, but alinipeleka chuo. Nacheki, like my parents educated me, and the way they educated me was for me to understand the world better than they understood it. Nacheki, if I was to tell my mother that the sun never sets, she'd be confused. She'd be like, what do you mean the sun never sets? Nacheki, but this is a conversation that I can have with someone else who's educated, you know? Earth ndio ina rotate, sun haiset, sun iko tu pale place ilikuwa, si tunatumia gravity ya sun kwenda around. So I don't feel like history ya gender-based violence, I think this was unfair to them, and what's going to happen is by Friday, by the time that hii content inatokea, itakuwa like we reached out to them and they did not comment. So this same thing was sent to Eric, sijui kwa nini amesensor jina yake, Amerix, and he ended up censoring the same thing. Personally, am I a big supporter of Manosphere? I'm not. Unajua, it's something that has made people hate me for this, for saying this, because these two guys, they have this fan base of theirs who believe that their leader cannot be challenged. Na unajua mi so far, I have a track record. Nisha challenge, kuna time ilikuwa huwezi kuuza Morara, nika challenge Morara, nikatandikwa. Na wasawashanituka juu ya kuchallenge Ruto. Hii ni before Ruto became unpopular. Niko nishatandikwa juu yake. Nishatandikwa juu ya Raila. So I don't care about your leader. I just feel like anyone who tells you that as a man you are at any sort of disadvantage is lying to you. Women are at much greater disadvantages. Do men go through bullshit? Yes, we are expected to have money even when we don't have it. But that's part of the package that comes with, you know, not having some like physical like disadvantages like monthly periods and monthly cramps and pain. If kama we kachali saizi ukiamka usiku na uanze kutembea, you can be mugged. Yes, after kumagiwa, kama uko Mombasa unaweza kuwa Abdul Samuel did it, unajua, lakini kwa uko Nairobi kuwa Abdul Samuel did it itakuwa one of the last thing you'll think about. So women always have that in the back of their minds. Kulikuwa na a study that was done that said that every time that a woman goes on a blind date, hauogopanga kukidnapiwa, kudoya the art thing na kudedishwa. Men tukiendaga on a blind date most of the times huogopa ni kama tutapewa, kama dem atatupenda, will she even like us? Then after yeye kutulike atakubali kuenda na sisi home. Those are our greatest fears. So I'll never support this sort of content ile inafanyaga men wa feel kama victims while telling them that it's empowering them. You can't have it both ways. Are you empowering me? Are you telling me that I'm a dude, I'm supposed to behave this way? So I'll never nini with that. And when I say that, I'm not attacking your hero. I'm not attacking your hero. I'm just telling you this is what I believe. And I grew up to have a very independent mindset. Namusemaga, I listened to 2 genres of music growing up, like for a very long time. Kulikuwa na reggae. Reggae inakuwaga we. Alafu kutakuwaga na hip hop. Inakuwaga I. And I normally look at life from the I philosophy, I. And this is what I know about life. Every person that you are seeing today, every person that you are seeing alive has lived life once. Once. Your pastor has lived once. There's nothing that your pastor can teach you about life. Because yeye mwenye ajui. Hii ni the first time yake. The same way, there's nothing that any life coach online can teach you about life. We are all doing guesswork. Sisi wote tukiamkaga asubuhi ni guesswork buda jo. Alafu sisi wote hatujuagi tunaenda kudedi when. So hii story mnakaa mnasetiwa se kwa pedestal fulani high, alafu msee akichallenge their bullshit thoughts, msee anakuambia never date a short woman. Afu nasema that makes no sense. Does that mean that mseka Shaquille, who's very tall and every woman is short to him, should never date a woman? So Shaquille anafaa kuwa anatafuta dudes. Acheki. Alafu when you challenge that, you're like, buda jo, unachukiana. Mimi sichukina, ninakwambia acha kusikiza ujinga. Buda, kila mtu hapa yuko guesswork. Do these people drop some gems once in a while? Yes, they drop. And when they drop those gems, take those gems. I always say everything about Ikonini, work ethic and everything, that comes from Kibe. Kibe is the one who showed me how to run a business like this. Any advice from him about women, I'm not taking. Any advice from Amerix about women, sichukui. Utagongewa dem. Utanini. Hiyo ni experience yako as one person in your first life on earth. This is your first fucking life. Hakuna kitu unajua ile sisi hatujui buda. Hakuna kitu unajua. Si wote tuko guesswork. Si wote tuko je buda. Nini ita happen? Alafu shit, okay. That worked. I didn't expect that to work, but it worked. When eventually you come and find people gravitating. And now, this is the interesting thing. The third world country is always behind. So a lot of stuff ile tunafanya saa hizi has already happened in other worlds. When you come to the Manosphere and you look at the Manosphere uko nje, and this has nothing to do with story ya domestic violence. That was bullshit. Fuck CNN for that. But tukiangalia easy Manosphere channels, one of the most popular Manosphere people died a very sad death, and that was really messed up. Kevin Samuels, because Kevin Samuels ilikuwaga ni msemi kwa na followgi kitambo juu ya fragrances, because I'm someone who loves smelling fresh, unajua loves smelling nice, because kuna hii shit moja ile like all these Manosphere channels never talk about hygiene. Like one of the biggest problems that a lot of men in Kenya wako nao ni hygiene. Wasona ingiaga hivi kwa like temu msajaoga like unasikia kuvunja dirisha. So hygiene, they rarely talk about hygiene, at least kuwa msafi na vitu kama hizo, na kutumia deodorant, that's a must as a man. Haufai kutembea ukiwa musty, so it's a must kutumia hiyo. Saizi kuna vile hizo Manosphere channels, kuna vile zina go through this interesting phase, some of this weird phase where a lot of them are facing problems in one way or another. So yuko na kitu kama Fresh and Fit ikikam to hizo maside za states. Fresh and Fit imekuwa on this like downward whatever ile, mpaka walikuwa banned on Twitch, walikuwa banned on what. And the reason behind that, if you were to ask me, ni you don't want a world where you raise boys feeling that they are disadvantaged in any way. Like, you have to look at your ancestors and look at what your ancestors went through. As soon as humans discovered agriculture, what used to happen is the women would be left at home and the men would go hunting. And when this man went hunting, they'd go with crude weapons. They didn't have automatic weapons. They didn't have guns. So one was walikuwa na go out there, anabaki ameua like lion on his way to catch that deer. Ama anapata a lion in a dish nini, a pack of lions, and they had to attack those pack of lions to take away the meat. Hizo vitu nachikiwa Masai wakifanya. So for you to come later and convince the modern man that somehow he's at a disadvantage because of the modern educated woman, have a problem with that. And I don't just have a problem with that because of my sister. I have a problem with that because I'm raising a daughter. And I want to empower my daughter as much as possible. So that when my daughter meets your son, I hope that you've empowered your son enough to respect this educated woman. And they can, they can form a union and respect each other. And this is what I have a problem with this channels. Like, don't trust a woman who has a nose ring. Don't trust a woman who has a tattoo. Don't trust a woman who has, like, kuna cultures in Africa, like the Sudanese who wanafanyaga funny things to their bodies. To all these things, you don't trust a red thigh woman. You don't trust a what? You're like, damn, man, what are we dealing with here? And I'll never respect that. If it's going to make a few men hate me because I told you that your hero is living life for the first time just like you and they don't have it figured out, I don't have it figured out. But a few things I can use common sense on. Like when I said I understand the world more than my mother. It's because I understand the world more than my mother. She took me to school. I ended up learning a few things. My dad passed away in 1996. Do I understand Earth better than my dad? Yes. I've seen more Earth than him. I've experienced things my dad never experienced. Hakuwa experience internet, hakuwa experience mobile phones, hakuwa experience. So his world was very limited. And even if you come to even a sensitive issue like sex, for example, like what can your dad teach you? That kama dad wako ni mtu like ni mzee yuko in his 60s 70s, mtu alikatia like at his prime, hakukuwa na online apps, anaweza kuteach nini? Saizi mademo wako na body count zingine crazy kabisa because of these apps. So when we say this thing, we're not saying them because of disrespecting your heroes. All we're telling you is your heroes don't have it figured out, and the fact that they tell you they have it figured out is fucked up. That's really messed up. And hii ina come from and I'd say like hii attitude yangu ina come from listening to a lot of rap music. One of the reasons why I loved about rap music is people show you the vulnerabilities. Inakuwaga like I'm not perfect but there's 1 2 3 things. So rap ndio kitu naweza waambia ile time ule msee wenyewe anawaambia like ukinyonga umejidedisha, kitu yako itapasuka mara 3. Rap ndio ilikuwa the first time nilisikiaga mtu akibonga juu ya kunyonga, ilikuwa rap. Go like, okay, I feel like, kumbe kitu nafanya si it's not the end of the world. Na ni kitu nishaifanya. Ushaionaga kama nimetoka kwa show nimeenda kunyonga pale. Ushaionaga nime lose confidence. Hizo vitu zote huambiwaga nime lose confidence. Hakuna ujinga kama hiyo. But sikuambii uende ufanye hivyo. Nakwambia tu ukitaka kufanya unaweza fanya. Haita change world yako. As long as it's not something you're doing 24/7, you can do other stuff. Just live your life. No one has life figured out. And anyone who tells you they have life figured out is lying to you. No one has life figured out. There are people at 60 years old just figuring themselves out. And it's never too late to figure yourself out, Pia. I think now this is an African thing, where in Africa, if you don't achieve this by this age, then you're done. No, you're not done. As long as you're on this earth, you can try. And you can try. Because life hainaga guarantees. There's someone right now who's 80 years old who's going to live longer than a kid who's just been born right now. Life has no guarantees. So we can never put limits on when to start enjoying life. But as I give you this advice, which I'm not, I'm just giving you my opinion, which you don't have to take. But unakwambia, no one has life figured out. And this is the only problem I've ever had with these masculinity channels and masculinity whatever, is they talk like they have life figured out. Like, you know what? My wife disappointed me. So that means your wife will disappoint you. Oh, my kid disappointed me. It means your kid will disappoint you. I lost my job. It means you'll lose your job. Me shall lose how many radio jobs? I've lost a lot of radio jobs. I think I've lost 3 radio jobs. Okay, I quit 1. So I've lost 2. Maina Kageni has been in the same radio job for how long? So how can I come and tell you that my view is what Maina's view should be? It's not. No one has life figured out. So, do I think Manosphere channels cause domestic violence? No. Do I think they make men into victims? Yes. Do I think they make men into crybabies? Yes. Do I think they make men to lean more towards the Nini, so the LG? Yes. Yes. Because if you start viewing women as enemies, that's what women are. Some of the most beautiful creatures, the most beautiful creatures to ever walk on planet Earth. Mi mademu akidisappear leo, nazima lights za IKONINI leo, jiongeleshe, jifanyie podcast peke yako. This certain force that women bring to Earth, that's just beautiful, man. Like, beautiful. Najua, and it's something that I'll always celebrate. If that makes me a simp, buda jo, unafurahiaga madem, we ni simp, nafadhali nikaa hivi ninuse baboy. Kwenda huko, jisikize wewe mwenyewe jo, buda. So, CNN, wache za ovyo, hizo stories za kuambia say wana cause domestic violence, but for other people, I'm not telling you, you consume any content you want to consume, but never assume that any man on earth has life figured out. Never assume that any woman on earth has life figured out. Not your mother, not your father. No one has life figured out. Everyone is doing guesswork. People at 80 want to do guesswork. Do people understand certain subjects? Yes. You'll never hear me nikiongea mbaya juu ya financial advisors. A lot of financial advisors know shit that we wish we knew. Unajua, like I always say, I wish instead of buying a car at 27, I could have waited, najua, and invested that money into something else. So there are people who understand different subjects. But the subject of life, anyone who's showing you how to live life is lying to you. That's why anyone's you a life coach. This goes out. Kuna msanii wa Burale. Burale anachikia na respect you na watu left, right and center. But me, the minute you call yourself a life coach, I'm like, fuck you. How do you have life figured out? No one has this shit figured out. People wake up in the morning. Rich people uchukua gagano na jilipua kichwa. Hakuna mtu anaelewa hii kitu. Hii kitu inakuwaga tuko tu hapa jo hatujui. Tunaenda tu. And it happens. You exist. Then you try to have the best time on earth. And then at some point, it's curtains zinakuwa closed. And you go. And you hope that you leave a legacy. But apart from a legacy, you hope that if you have kids, you are their father, ama you are their mother. You spent time with them. You tried to guide them to find themselves. You didn't mold their whole worldview. You didn't want them to pursue dreams. Zako, your failed dreams, now you wanted to live through your kids. No, you try and do all that stuff. And at the end of the day, if you end up crutching on religion, good for you. If you end up crutching on art, music or not, good for you. If you end up doing science, good for you. You have one life, live it the best way you know how. No one has life figured out. No one is a life coach. No one is a masculinity coach. No one is a femininity coach. Everyone is doing guesswork. Nishaonaga dem fulani hapo anapost videos ameinua mguu, anaambia madem ati ukinulia chali yako mguu wrong. Ukinulia chali yako kwenda, who told you that? Kifo cha mende, like missionary is the worst style. Nani alikuambia? Na ulisikia wapi? So hizi ujinga zote, we are all doing guesswork. And that's one thing that you need to know. If that makes you lose your shit, ubaki umetoa ma comments mingi, that guy lives rent free in your head. Wewe ndio mjinga, nataka kutolea ujinga kwa kichwa. Na usisahau ndio maliza ujinga, tupatane December 21st, Rapcha the Scientist, Raw and Uncut 4. Regular tickets going for 1,500 shillings only. VIP tickets going for 5,000 shillings only. Tupatane December 21st. Kwa unataka kunitusi, tupatane huko, baki umenitusi. Mi watching IKONINI juu ya Rapcha peke yake. Mi sijali. Rapcha is my brother. So show up December 21st. Rapcha the Scientist, Raw and Uncut 4. IKONINI.